So we're looking at Malden Middle School wants to make $4,740 from yearbooks, and they have print yearbooks for $60, and that's X, and digital yearbooks for $15 are Y, and so that's the equation. 60x plus 15y equals 4,740. So you've got $60 for each print one, $15 for each digital, and you're looking for that total that they're aiming to get. So we want to use the intercepts to graph the equation. So that means we're going to try and find the x-intercept. Remember, the x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. So we're going to write the equation and plug in 0 for y. And that's going to give us 60x plus 0 is equal to 4,740, or 60x equals 4,740. And we would divide both sides by 60 to find the x. And that's going to give us 79. So our x-intercept is 79, 0. When we're finding the y-intercept, that's when x is equal to 0. So we rewrite the equation. This time making x equal to 0. And that's going to give us 0 plus 15y is equal to 4,740, or just 15y equals 4,740. And we would divide both sides by 15 to find what y is. So all that equation solving stuff never really goes away. And that gives us 316. And so our y-intercept is x is 0 when y is 316. Now our last step is to interpret the x and y-intercept. And that's what that's saying is decide what that means for the story. So the 79 x, 0y, since the x was the print yearbooks, this means that they could sell 79 print yearbooks, that was x, and 0 digital yearbooks, and make their $4,740. That's that x-intercept. Now the y-intercept means they could sell 0 print and 316 digital yearbooks and still make the 4,740. Now, of course, there's all sorts of things in combinations in between there. So let's take a look at that. So when we plot those intercepts, we can plot that we've got our x and our y. We need a scale there. I think I'm going to make my x-axis by tens just so I can fit everything on there. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. I'm just writing every other one here just so I have room. And then 90, 100. I'm counting by tens there, but just writing every other one there. And then on the y-axis, I'm going to count by 50s. So I'm going to have that first line be 50. And then 100. And then 150. 200. 250. 300. 350 there. Okay. Now we want to print, or rather graph, our intercept. So the x-intercept was that 79, 0. So that is, we're looking at 79, almost 80, and 0. So that's that spot right there. And then the y-intercept on the y-axis is 0, 316. So that's going to be just above 300 on the y-axis. And then we want a line that goes between those two. And that line is going to represent all the different combinations of print yearbooks and digital yearbooks. And so all those points across on that line would be the different combinations they could sell in order to make their goal of the $4,740. So in our next example, Mr. Davies spent $230 on lunch for his class. Sandwiches X cost $6 and drinks Y cost $2. And that can be represented in standard form, again, good for stories, as 6 times X, which would be $6 for each sandwich, and 2 plus 2Y, $2 for each drink, equal to that total of $230 that he spent. I'm going to use the intercepts to graph the possibilities there. So again, we're just going to start with finding our x-intercept. Remember, that's when y is equal to 0. So you're going to write the equation. Plug in 0 for y. That 2 times 0 is just going to give you 0. And so we end up with 6x is equal to 230. And you need to divide both sides by 6. And x is equal to 38.3 repeating. Now, 0.3 repeating doesn't really make sense for a number of sandwiches, but it would be, you would have to say like 38 1/3. That's the same idea. And so that is 38 1/3 sandwiches and 0 drinks there. And then we're looking for our y-intercept. Remember, that's when x is equal to 0. And so again, you rewrite your equation. You're making that opposite letter 0. So this time we're making x 0. Y-intercept is when x is 0. 6 times 0 would give us 0. So we end up with 2y is equal to 230. And then we're dividing by 2. And y is equal to 115. So that gives us 0, 115. Then our last job here is to interpret the intercepts. So that says to say what they mean. So I would like you to do that on Edpuzzle. And the idea here for the x-intercept is that Mr. Davies could buy 38 1/3 sandwiches. And no drinks. Now, of course, not that that's realistic, but we are looking for a range here. Or the y-intercept, he could buy 0 sandwiches and 115 drinks. Now, of course, it would make the most sense to have something in between there. So when we're looking at that graph, we're looking at all those possibilities. So we want to graph 38 1/3, 0. So you're going across to about 38 1/3, and then 0. And 0, 115. And then you're drawing the line in between those, which shows all the possibilities that he could spend on to spend his $230.